Hello and welcome to another motorcycling video. It's Friday, and as George Harrison once noted, quoting Lewis Carroll, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there." I have no destination in mind, I'm just riding around in the breeze, to quote the Traveling Wilburys, also featuring George Harrison. Some explanations first. I don't want to deceive viewers. I use Clipchamp to edit and upload my videos. I used to use CapCut, but I had reached the limit of my uploads and could no longer export videos from program. Clipchamp offers some music as part of the package. I have used something called Transcend for this video. Clipchamp also offers some computer-generated voices. I have used text-to-speech, creating a script, and left it to Brian to read it. I have tried some of these voices before, and I wasn't too keen, but I'll see how it turns out. I had used the clip-on lapel microphone that plugs into the computer, and this time I tried a different placement with the microphone inside my jacket, hoping to reduce wind and other external noise. That was not successful, so I turned to Clipchamp and Brian. If you have a thought or comment about the voice, feel free to share it. I'm not a fan of the computer-generated voice, but I thought I'd give it a try. Hopefully the music doesn't drown out the commentary. I'm traveling west from Goulburn for about 1 kilometer, making some comments on the state of the road. I suggest, if you're able to, that you watch the video at full size, because I feel you get a better sense of the scenery and some of the things I am talking about. I realize that can be difficult if you're watching on a phone or a tablet, but I feel it is a better experience. I have no control over whether the video can be cast to a TV. I see sometimes that is available, and on other videos it is not an option. That is a YouTube decision. This road I'm on is at this point an urban road that does have a fair amount of traffic coming into Goulburn from the housing in the west, the direction I'm going. There are line markings down the middle of the road, so everyone knows which part of the road is theirs. They also make it clear when overtaking is or is not allowed. There are markings on the edge of the road, which, as well as marking the edge of the road, provide a reasonable shoulder for runners, those who don't have off-street parking, and a place to stop and drop the stand on a motorcycle if necessary. A little further up the road these features are not present, that is, there is either no shoulder, or it is too narrow to be of any use in regard to the safety of those not driving. One side of the road has curb and guttering, but not the other, so in the absence of lighting or markings, it is difficult to know where the edge of the road is. I'm not expecting motorway-type conditions on a small road in Goulburn, and it is always a question of how much traffic uses a particular road that determines what happens in regard to repairs and the general state of the road. It is also a matter of who is responsible for the road: the local council, the state government of, in the case, or National Highways, the federal government. Sometimes it is the state government that is responsible for a road, but it pays the local council to do the work for them, or they subcontract the work to private companies. I'm not sure that really matters, only that the road is maintained and repaired when needed. I'm on a different road going north for a few hundred meters, and as you can see, there are no markings on the road, so we have to hope everyone will keep to their side of the road. Again, one side has curb and guttering, but not the other. There are houses on both sides, and it is possible that people who live on this road regularly travel in both directions. The problem with the lack of a firm white shoulder is, should a motorcyclist need to pull off the road to check an address, for example, or look at a house number, or to get their bearings, they don't know if there is a drop from the road surface to the dirt that they'll be putting their stand down on, and whether that edge of the road is firm or full of loose gravel or soft after a lot of rain. These things don't matter if you're in a car. Going west from Goulburn on Range Road, a road, in my view, that is in average condition. There are line markings in the center and on the edges, but the shoulders are quite narrow, and the drop from the road surface can be quite steep. I have run on this road many times, and there are places where it is difficult to move over and give the cars and other vehicles the room they need. The speed limit is 80 kilometers per hour. You can usually hear the traffic coming behind you, and most vehicles will give you room, but there are places where it is difficult to get off the road onto the shoulder, and there are places where, because of the curve of the road, it is unsafe for the driver to give a runner of a cyclist a wide enough berth for the safety of all. I'm going to continue on this road for a couple of kilometers, and you will see the point I am making. Eventually the road comes to a wooden bridge over the Wollondilly River. The bridge has been there for a very long time, and a few years ago was repainted. Traveling west as I am, the curve of the road leading down to the bridge makes it difficult for cars to move over and give a runner or cyclist space. There are signs saying no passing on the bridge, so a driver is meant to wait for someone already on the bridge to cross the river and be off the bridge before proceeding. When the bridge was repainted, there was no work done on the deck, where there are some wide cracks that are a hazard for cyclists or two-wheeled motorcycles. I'm safe because of the width of the Spider and two wheels up front for extra stability. Despite what sounds like an endless list of problems with the roads, I should say this is a pleasant drive with interesting scenery, as you can see in some spots if you're watching in full screen. As I've already noted, it is a question of how much traffic uses a particular road and the priorities of the authorities, who are responsible for the road, that determine what work gets done and when. These timber bridges are something of an historic artifact now. There are still a lot of them around the state. They represent an earlier era and a way of building that no one uses anymore. When they replaced, it is often with a concrete bridge. The Lansdowne Bridge on Bungonia Road was a similar design. It had reached the end of its useful life, and the cost of bringing it up to safe standard was greater than the cost of a replacement. This one doesn't get as much traffic, perhaps, has a few years of life left in it. There is an argument to say the existing bridge should be retained if and when a new one is built. In some cases that would add to the cost, as the road might need to be realigned and land purchased. There is also the safety concern that if the bridge has reached the end of its useful life and is no longer fit for purpose, but is left in place as an historic feature, people will climb on it and possibly injure themselves. The road surface here is pretty good. It is sealed and there are no major problems like potholes or buckling of the surface. The markings are all pretty clear as well. On the sides of the road are poles that are either metal or plastic. For want of a better word, I'm going to call them pickets. The ones on the side in the direction you are traveling have a red reflector. The ones on the opposite side of the road to the direction you are traveling have a white reflector on the side facing you. These pickets are not just for decoration, they are another tool to show drivers where the edge of the road is. This is particularly useful at night. The pickets are set about a meter from the edge of the road. Headlights will show drivers the edge of the road, but this is another aid that is useful at night. I have noticed on a number of the roads around Goulburn that the pickets have been bent over and so are effectively useless. In some cases, this may be from an accident, that is, someone has run into it. In most cases, though, I suspect they have been deliberately bent over. This is annoying in terms of compromising safety, as well as a cost to the community. This road I've turned onto is called Chinamen's Lane. It connects Range Road and the Crookwell Road. I'm travelling north along it at the moment. It is a bit of a mixed bag. There are markings down the centre which are helpful because there are some dangerous curves. The shoulders are poor with broken edges and they are quite narrow. I have run this road a few times and it is very difficult to get off the road to allow drivers to pass, and there are places where it is unsafe for them to go out wide to give a runner or cyclist room. This is especially a problem when cyclists are riding two abreast. There are some spots where there are patches on patches, and that makes the surface rough and uneven. That is especially noticeable when riding a motorcycle, where you're likely to feel every bump. I can avoid many of them because of the width between the front wheels, but even I get a jolt through the back wheel sometimes. Again, I acknowledge it is always a question of how much traffic does a particular road get and how best can the available money be spent. It is worth noting that a number of vehicle manufacturers are now developing suspension systems and tunings to suit Australian roads. GWM, Hyundai, and Kia, as well as others, are now using the old Holden Proving Ground to tweak the suspension of their vehicles for Australian roads. This can only be good for the cars and the people who buy them, but do indicate that the roads in Australia are different from other places where the company's cars are sold. One thing that is pretty good about this road is visibility. That seems to contradict my earlier statement about dangerous curves. What I mean about visibility is that the trees are well back from the road. On some other roads, the tree line is quite close to the edge of the road. That is a problem in my view, because trees close to the edge of the road can cast dappled shadows across the road, which can be a problem for older drivers, who might need a little longer for their vision to adjust to changes in the light. Trees close to the edge of the road can also affect visibility in the sense of being able to see around a bend, or even see traffic coming across an intersection. Before I have people getting upset suggesting I want trees to be cut down, let me be clear, I do not, but there is a case for pruning them to improve visibility and also reduce fire risk. It had been raining earlier today, and the roads were wet, and of course they would be slippery. By the time I decided to go for a ride, the rain had stopped, and as you can see, there are patches of blue sky and some cloud but not rain clouds. I will be on this road for 1 kilometer or more. You will see some of the things that I have been talking about. The dappled shadows across the road from trees are clear. The narrow shoulder with gutter made up of rocks on the edge. This is unsafe for people stepping off the road while running, so as to give drivers room to pass them. The patchy state of the surface is clear as well. In a short distance, I will be coming to AT intersection where Chinaman's Lane meets the Crookwell Road. This is the western edge of the main part of Goulburn. At the intersection, I will be turning left onto the Crookwell Road going west in the direction of Crookwell. I'm approaching that intersection now. Since I have a give way sign facing me, it is best to slow down. On the Spider, it is not necessary to change down the bike, does that automatically, and rev matches as well. It happens once you begin to slow down or if you touch the brakes. There is a lot of traffic on the Crookwell Road. People coming into Goulburn from places out towards Crookwell, and others going out to Crookwell for work, perhaps at the schools or other places. Over the last few years, there has been some work done on the road to make it safe. It has been widened, with better markings, and some sections also rumble strips. Those are the bumps on the edge of the road that make a rumbling sound as tires come in contact with them. They are an important safety feature because again they mark the edge of the road, and are also very helpful for drivers who might be drowsy and wandering off the road. The rumbling sound will wake up the driver. To clarify, I am not advocating anyone driving. While they are tired, it would be much better to stop and take a short micro sleep. However, someone whose attention had wandered from the road and their wheels come in contact with the rumble strips will be alerted by the unusual sound. There are safety barriers on the road where they are needed, and the shoulder is quite wide in some places. This is important for making sure there is space to pull off the road, as well as providing room for runners and cyclists. I think visibility is pretty good on this road. The tree line is back from the road, avoiding the dappled shadows I spoke about earlier. I also think some of the more difficult bends and curves have been improved. As with any road, ride to the conditions, the road, the weather, and your own ability, as well as the capabilities of your bike. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you have one. I'll catch you in the next motorcycling video.